Hello, I'm John. This is a requested painting video, and you're watching Wargames, Models and Other Hobbies. Hello and welcome to this painting video. Today I'm going to be running through how I painted this munitions container for Necromunda. It wasn't an overly complex paint scheme, just a few colours that I used and a few simple techniques. But I'm going to run through it in this video just so you can see how I get this weathered green effect on the model. So to start with, I've got two little containers, and what I did was I sprayed them in Caliban green as a base coat. You don't have to spray it, you could paint it with the equivalent paints or whatever, but that's how I started. So I've got that base coat. The next step is to get some low lights and things within there. You could use inks for that. In this case, I used the Dark Angels green contrast paint. Although it's already going over green, it gives a nice wash on the details and picks them out. So let's get started with that. So I'm actually using a shade brush for this. It doesn't matter really what brush you use, as long as you get the paint in the right place. So what I'm looking to do is just where there are any details or anything like that, I'm just going to paint this contrast paint in there. And I'm not worried about it being neat and tidy. I'm going to do the whole of these little containers in green. I'm not going to worry about picking out any of the details with any other colours for now, but you could, painting these up, actually put other colours in and that kind of thing. This principle would work with any colour, so I've done it with reds before as well, but we'll just stick with the green for this one. There's that one done. Let's do the larger one. So now I've painted these, I need to let them dry thoroughly, so that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so I've let them dry for a little bit. Here they are. So ideally I'd like to leave them a little bit longer, but I'm feeling a bit impatient. So the next step is to dry brush them with, I'm going to use Narlock green, or an equivalent of a similar colour. So it's a slightly lighter version of the Caliban green undercoat. So get a dry brush, a little bit of paint, and then take most of it off. And then what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to stipple in these areas rather than dry brush. What I want to do is just get rid of some of the obvious edges of contrast paint onto the primer. So only do a little bit there, and then a bit down here, bit of a rush dry brush. And then again here. I'm not being precious with this at all. I'm not worried about the paint kind of going over any edges or anything like that. The whole point of this is it's going to look weathered. So there is that first stage there. So I'll put a little bit more on the back of the box. A few stipples at the bottom, just like that. That's okay. Let's do the same all the way around, just to even it up slightly. A little bit more over the top. Right, there we go. There is the first one. So you can immediately see that difference between the two. Now I will do the same thing to this one. Bit too much paint on there, but it doesn't matter. Let's knock that back. Oops. As you can see, with like I keep saying with this, I'm not precious with this as I go along, as I launch it across the table. Just want to get there we go. Okay, there we go. So that one's got slightly over-painted section there. That doesn't matter because of the next coats that I'm going to put on. So let me just clean this brush. So another dry brush, a fresh one, because the other one's a bit too wet for now. And I'm now going to dry brush with the Gauze Blaster Green. This is going to pick out any highlights on the model itself. I'm using quite a big dry brush for this one. Don't want much paint at all. So, I'm going to just gently put this on. There we go. And then the same on the larger one. Let's just get a little bit more paint, only a small amount. And what I'm going to do, where I've got quite the light bit there, just going to stipple a bit on. Now, again, I keep saying this with this one, I'm not precious about this. These first coats of paint, you can always tidy them up later if you're going to do other details and so on. But as a basic level for the tabletop or your display shelf, I think these work perfectly. Okay, let's clean this brush. And finally, I am going to use some Mournfang Brown. Now what this is going to be used for, let me just get the bigger container, is areas of rust and wear and that kind of thing. So I'm not going to be doing this all over, I'm only going to be doing it in a few specific places. So let's do that. And one thing you will note, I'm not letting much time for the dry brush to fully dry. It doesn't bother me if the colours merge slightly or it rubs off. The whole point is just to get that little bit of colour. So on this one, I'm going to concentrate more on the bottom with some of the brown. I'm not going to put too much round elsewhere. There we go, that's fine. Bit on the hinges. And then I'm just going to put a streak across like that. And one more. There we go. And now, a bit of brown on the longer container. I'm going to do a little bit of stippling on that area there. Just bring this together all the way around. And then finally, let's just get a little bit across the top. Okay, let's need to wash my brush. And there we have it. So one method of painting this green. So there we have the container I finished earlier and those two smaller containers there. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this little tutorial on one way of painting this green. There are so many different methods. If you'd like to see any other videos on how I paint items, please drop a comment. But for now, thanks for watching. My name's John, and you've been watching Wargames, Models, and Other Hobbies.